This podcast is part of the Michigan Sports and Entertainment Podcast Network. Go to michigansportsandentertainment.com for more great podcasts.
You know who I can do without? I can do without the people in the video store.
Which ones?
All of them.
This is Massive Late Fee with Mike and Mark.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Massive Late Fee. My name is Mark. With me as always is my co-host Mike. How you doing, Mike?
Pretty good. How about you?
Good. We've had a good week here. Had some contacts with some Hollywood types. So look forward to some interesting things going on in that. We have an interview today, our first ever actor interview. So look forward to that. We talked to Lester Green, who is a young up and coming actor. What else happened this week? We're continuing to build our podcast network, which is good. Skeptical Skeptics are on board with us, Mike. So
nice.
we'll be guest
podcasts with them last week.
Yeah, the last week with them was really good. So we'll we'll both be guesting on their show at some point in the future when they talk about different topics. We've kind of started coordinating with them on that, so we'll let you know when that happens, and everyone can check that out. So the news today. We've had it's been a little bit of a busy time for news, which is interesting in February. Oh, also, real quick, we had another episode of Retro Late Fee. For anyone listening to this, it will be 2 days ago now that it came out. And it was quite good. We talked about the movie My Father the Hero, which stars a young Katherine Heigl, a not legal Katherine Heigl, and Gerard Butler. Or no, not Gerard Butler. Gerard Depardieu. Yeah. He was the weirdest looking person that I've ever seen in my life.
What?
He looks so weird. He looks like a mountain made into a human being. Like he's
the rock biter kind of.
Yeah, exactly. Like he's not fat. He's just big and like bulgy. Like he's a lumpy
like a
human
moose?
being. He's just lumpy.
He's lumpy motherfucker.
But yeah, so we had a good time talking about that. The Winter Olympics opened 20. Oh, by the way, Mike, there's a I came up with on the fly. There's a little interesting origin to our hatred of the Scandinavian countries when I talk about the '94 Lillehammer Olympics.
Nice.
So yeah, definitely check into that and the news. So we let's see. Okay. There's Martin Scorsese is making a new movie called Young Irish. It's finished.
Oh, is that what I heard? It was called The Irishman.
Or The Irishman. Yeah, I'm sorry, The Irishman. It's finished filming. It's going to come out on Netflix in October. But one of the things about it is a good portion of the beginning of the movie, because it takes place over several decades, they're going to use de-aging technology to make Robert De Niro and Al Pacino, amongst some others, I know Ray Romano's in it as well, look younger. Obviously, Marvel's kind of revolutionized this de-aging technology. It's gotten a lot better looking than it has in the past. Specifically, Michael Douglas's de-aging job at the beginning of Avengers Age of Ultron looks really, really good. But I've only seen it in small little snippets. So it'll be interesting to see how it looks for a big part of the film.
I heard that Nick Fury is going to be de-aged as well in the Miss Marvel movie. Is that something that I'm saying correctly?
Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, Captain Marvel takes place in the 90s, I think 96. So obviously they'll be de-aging him, although he looks, I mean,
I don't think you have to do much work with Samuel Jackson.
yeah, if you look at him from Pulp Fiction and you look at him now, he's fucking 70, which is insane to me. But he does not look that much different.
No.
So yeah, that'll be interesting. It'll be Robert De Niro's face has definitely aged, so it will be interesting to
Yes.
see.
I think he might have been keeping it in water for the past 10 years.
Now I know
Tell
you.
me,
Yep.
you know anything else about this Irishman movie? Because I only heard about it the other day when I heard about the de-aging thing, but I mean, you can't be more excited about a movie that's directed by Martin Scorsese with Robert De Niro and Al Pacino in it.
Yeah, I know. And Ray Romano too. I'm just joking.
Yeah,
But no, I love Ray Romano though. But
not
no,
everybody.
no, yeah, I'm excited. You know, it's interesting that it's coming straight to Netflix. But you know, Alfonso Cuarón's latest movie came straight to Netflix, so they're definitely getting some good films. This movie will have a limited release in the theaters like the other ones, so they're eligible for the Academy Awards. But yeah, I mean, Al Pacino, Robert De Niro, and Martin Scorsese teaming up. This will be the first time that he actually directs Al Pacino because he produced Heat, but he did not direct it.
I didn't even know he produced it. I know that was the only movie they were both in, or the first one they were both in. You know, in contact with each other because obviously they were both in The Godfather Part Two, but their characters never interact.
Right, exactly.
Well, they do, but they don't.
Right, yep.
And in Heat, like, there's actually, it's kind of funny because the scene where they're in the diner where you see them both on screen at the same time, that actually, there was certain versions that were, it was not letterbox format, so you actually couldn't see them both at the same time. So you actually had to make sure it was in a certain format. I mean, yeah, this is something, everyone would have loved to see 30, 40 years ago, but I mean, the fact that it's Martin Scorsese, and I still have not seen a bad movie from him. They just seem to be getting better, so
Martin
I'm excited about
Scorsese's.
it.
Yeah, me too. And Martin, and I like that it's coming to Netflix because I just enjoy watching movies in my house. But
Yeah, that's what it is.
yeah, Martin Scorsese is just one of those people that was born to make movies. He just knows he knows how to make a film. And there are some that are better than others, but yeah, I haven't seen Martin Scorsese make a bad film yet. So
I mean, I haven't seen. Didn't he do J. Edgar? I heard it didn't the greatest reviews, but I haven't seen it.
I can't remember if he
sure it's
directed that or not, but I know he had something to
did.
do with it. But yeah, I haven't seen that one either. That could be a bad one, I suppose. But he certainly he hasn't made Spielberg's made some pretty bad films, and like M. Night Shyamalan has made some movies that are a lot worse than some of his better ones. So yeah, I don't think Scorsese's dipped as low as some other people.
No.
I know you didn't see Aquaman, but neither did I,
Nope.
honestly. But
That's a
apparently,
twist.
apparently,
Speaking of Shyamalan.
right. But apparently, there's a part in the movie where they go down to this trench that's a big spooky trench, and they're gonna make a horror movie called The Trench, based on it's a James Wan Aquaman spinoff. James Wan is obviously he's made some horror films in the past. From what I've heard, Aquaman is a really weird movie anyway. This is going to make it even stranger. So that's interesting, I guess. I really don't have any interest in seeing it.
Well, I think we both know I'm never going to see this movie.
Yeah, Noah Gardner and Aiden Fitzgerald.
It's like Aquaman, but without Aquaman.
Right. Did you like Aquaman? Inexplicably, yes. Well, why don't you watch this horror movie ripoff of it? Yeah, I can't believe how much money that movie made.
I mean, good for Jason Momoa, but yeah, I never. I mean, obviously the character is kind of ridiculous in most forms.
Yeah, Aquaman has always been the most ridiculous character and premise of.
Even children that read comic books hated Aquaman. That's how wild he is as a character goes.
I don't know about your kids like The Nightmare Before Christmas.
No, I mean, around Halloween we'll listen to the "This Is Halloween" song. Sometimes quite a bit, but no, that's about their extent of joy.
Yeah, my kids don't really get into it that much either, which makes me question why apparently, although this is a really weird story that I read, they're thinking of maybe rebooting or doing a sequel, a live action reboot or a sequel to The Nightmare Before Christmas. And basically this is how this story goes. Somebody gave a website inside information, who I guess has been reliable before, that they were on a call with some of the executives and they said, hey, what are we doing with Nightmare Before Christmas? We should do something with it, like a sequel or a live action reboot. And then one magazine got the story from that magazine, who got the story from another magazine, and then I saw the story and then I reported it to people. And it's like I actually wrote in the thing that I put, I said, so if you're wondering if Disney executives are thinking about their older properties and how they can make more money from them, well, there's your answer. They are.
I mean, yeah, I mean, they have the stuff pretty prominently displayed at the Disney store if you ever go in there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, it just makes sense that they would try to monetize it like they have everything else. But I mean, I don't. It's a very weird and specific age group that's really into that movie. I think it's people who are slightly younger than you and I are.
Yep.
I think it came out, I don't know when it came out, maybe early 90s or so. I wasn't really watching, cartoons in the movie theater at that time, but I'm sure, there were plenty of kids, who were a couple of years younger than us who did and really fell in love with the movie.
Yeah, I think if you were born between like 1982 and 1984 or 5, then you really like that movie. And I don't know that it has a big audience outside of that demographic, unless you're just a super hardcore Tim Burton fan for some reason. Even though a lot of people don't know Tim Burton didn't direct that movie.
Yeah, I always thought he had, but I think it's just his name slapped on as like a producer, isn't it? Frank Selby,
Yeah.
Herbert Selby, something Selby. I don't know.
It's just like Gremlins. A lot of people think Steven Spielberg directed Gremlins, and he didn't, because it says Steven Spielberg presents Gremlins. It's a Joe Dante movie.
Yeah, that's how like a lot of when Quentin Tarantino, like for a while he would like be like be listed as a producer. I'm sure for like some good chunk of money. And so it'd be like Quentin Tarantino presents Curdled, or Quentin Tarantino presents so and so.
But yeah, speaking of Disney trying to monetize things, did you see the pictures of Will Smith as the genie in the new Aladdin movie that's coming out?
Yeah, I did see some of those.
I don't know, man. I mean, I like a lot of people are not up in arms, but a lot of people are, talking about how ridiculous it looks and everything. But at the same time, it's like I don't know what are they gonna do. I mean, if they're gonna paint him blue, then he's going to be a blue painted man. It's not going to be the same as drawing a blue genie.
I mean, I don't know why they wouldn't just CGI the entire genie, And they could maybe even pay like Robert Williams' estate, to use his voice if it's going to be like the same lines and everything anyways.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
I have no interest in seeing Aladdin or The Lion King or any of their other shot-for-shot remakes that they're making live action for some reason. Well, I know the reason, for money.
Yeah, I have no. It's weird because like I think Aladdin's one of those movies you can't really watch now. So I mean, I wonder if they're going to release the live action and then release the video version.
Yeah.
What?
No. Oh, you mean you can't watch it because you can't find it?
Yeah, because like how Disney will like hold on to like some videos, like they call it like their vault. Like you can only get in certain movies available. Like they basically restrict the access to their movies.
Mm-hmm.
And Aladdin is one because I know my sister-in-law wanted to get a copy of it, but it just was not for sale, and I don't even know if it is now. So I wonder if they'll release it after this, to capitalize on the live action movie.
Yeah, I would assume they probably will. Yeah, it's weird how they do that. Like they've taken a lesson from De Beers, where they just make their movies scarce.
Pretty much.
Speaking of scarce, because I think the audience for this will be scarce. We talked about last week that Jaws movie, or that Big Shark movie that Tommy Wiseau's making.
Yeah, isn't it called Big Shark?
Yeah, it's called Big Shark. I saw the trailer. They actually released the trailer online, and it's
I saw it was out.
It's basically what that guy described it as, and it's hilarious. The trailer just looks. Tommy Wiseau is either the most inept filmmaker that has ever lived, or a fucking genius. one one of the two, because I know The Room has a huge cult following because of how bad it was made. But I really don't think he's a genius, because I really don't think that you can plan that. I don't think you can plan to make a good bad movie.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think it's just one of those things that happens.
It's a very weird like confluence of different things for sure. Like it's I mean, like I know you used to like always watch movies just like for the sheer, humor value of how badly they were made.
Yeah.
But it's weird because it has to be a certain level of good to really enjoy a bad movie. Like it can't just be completely abysmally bad because it's
No.
just like unwatchable.
No, you're right. There's a weird alchemy to it. There has to be a little bit of
You have
attention
to
to
tell they
detail.
tried, I think.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And yeah, Colin and I used to watch movies like that all like every weekend. We'd go to like Blockbuster or Home Theater Video or something like that, and rent just tons of bad movies to make fun of.
Yeah. Yeah, I never really get into that, but there's some movies like I just don't know why I enjoy watching them. Like the movie Grandma's Boy, which we did, or not Grandma's Boy. The movie, shit, what's that movie called?
Oh,
With
the
Adam
Sun
Sandler.
one.
That's my boy.
That's
That's
my
my
boy.
boy.
Yeah.
It's just a weird mix. See, there's parts I mean, I never find myself laughing out loud to the movie,
Hmm.
but I mean, there's parts that I just really enjoy just because they're just so ludicrous.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't enjoy them purely on an ironic level. I mean, I genuinely enjoy certain parts of the movie, but it's just like it's not a good movie by any stretch of the imagination.
It was more enjoyable watching that movie than I thought it was going to be when we did the audio commentary for that.
Yeah, yeah, that's kind of what it was. It was like one of those movies that kind of it's like, oh, it's not as bad as I thought it would be, but it's still surely bad. I mean, it's just not as bad, but I don't know. They elevated it to the point of being watchable, I guess.
But speaking of what we're watching, let's talk about what we're watching. This week, I'm caught up now, but my wife and I watch a show that's in its final season right now called You're the Worst. It's on FXX. You can see it on Hulu and stuff like that. Are you familiar with it at all?
I've heard of it. Like I've seen previews and like something saying last season, but I know nothing about this.
It's a lot of adults behaving badly kind of thing, where it's sort of an Arrested Develop, not like the show Arrested Development, but the characters actually are suffering from Arrested Development, where basically it's two people that kind of say what's on their mind all the time, and they don't care, and they're mean and kind of stupid. And that's basically, but it is genuinely funny, and it's I don't know exactly how to describe it. They both have problems, and they get together, and there's sort of an emotional connection between the two of them that you can feel. Like the show does a really good job of establishing, like, making you care about the characters while at the same time making them sort of reprehensible, because a lot of what they do is really messed up, but then they have reasons for why they're so messed up, and a lot of it comes back to their parents. It's kind of an odd mismatch of a lot of things, but it is a funny and enjoyable show to watch. It does turn me off sometimes though too. It's really weird. It's like the only thing I've ever watched where I'm like, I like this show, but then sometimes a scene or an episode will happen and I'm like, oh God, why? And not out of like disgust, not like Jackass or something like that where someone's getting like their testicles stapled. So not like shock value, but out of more why would someone do that? Why would you say that? Why would you be like that kind of thing?
Right.
But yeah, it's an interesting show. So I think the audience can check it out if they're so inclined to watch. Like I said, it's kind of like adults behaving badly type of thing.
I'll wait till the shot by shot remake is
Yeah,
released by
exactly.
Disney in 20 years.
The shot-by-shot remake with, let's see, 20 years from now, who would it be? One of the guys from Stranger Things.
Willow Smith
Yeah, there you go. And Willow Smith. Will
as the
Smith.
genie.
Will Smith will have pushed her fully into acting at that point. Have you been watching anything this week?
I've been watching a lot of YouTube series lately. The one I've mentioned this before, but I just loved it. I could just it's just something you could turn on and just pay attention to or not. It's the hot ones. It's like the show where they do like 10 questions and 10 like increasingly hotter types of hot sauces.
I keep, not to interrupt you, but I keep forgetting to tell you, ever since you first mentioned that, I've been watching that show. I watched, like, I've seen probably like 20 of them or 30 of them or something like that.
I've seen a lot. Yeah, it's just like, and the best part about it is I realized, because Seth Meyers was like the most recent one on there because I subscribe. I'm like, I'm not really a big Seth Meyers fan, but I'm like, you know what? I'll still enjoy this.
Yep.
If I like the person or if I don't, I'll enjoy the show.
Yeah, the Gordon Ramsay one was hilarious.
Yeah, I really like the host is really good. I think Sean Evans, and just like the guest. It's funny. I watched Joel Embiid the other day,
Okay.
and he was pretty hilarious because he kept insisting that it wasn't hot, but like you could tell by his face that he was not having a good time.
I watched the Bryan Cranston one too.
I didn't see that. I saw they had T.J. Miller. I want to see that one too.
I think they had Charlie Day on too, right?
Yeah, I saw that one. They had Johnny Knoxville, and then Steve-O as well. Jim, there's a lot of like surprising guests. Like Jim Gaffigan was on there. I saw that last night.
I saw that
Natalie
one too.
Portman.
Yep.
Yeah, it's just a really really good show. I like it a lot. And then I watch a lot of podcasts. Like I think it's called About Last Night with Theo Von. That's pretty funny. And then I just go into like wormholes. But that's all I've been watching lately is YouTube. I mean, I know the Grammys were on, but I'm not really interested in the type of music that's on the Grammys.
Yeah, me either.
So I've been watching YouTube, listening to podcasts, the Joe Rogan podcast, and the Gilbert Gottfried one, and that's basically all I've been doing entertainment-wise.
That's good research, though, for doing our podcast.
Yeah, we'll just rip theirs off.
It's called an homage.
It's called a shot-by-shot remake of that joke.
So, speaking of crap, well, we really weren't, but I wasn't going to say speaking of homage or ripping off. I guess this does kind of rip off something called, like that movie Bloodfeast. But for educating Mike today, since our main topic is going to be Velvet Buzzsaw, which is sort of a surprise horror film, I went and looked around to see if I could find one of the worst horror films that I could find, and I found a movie called Blood Diner. This movie came out in 1987. It's directed by Jackie Kong and written by Michael Sonyi. Here's the plot of... I'm going to read the plot, and then I'm going to read the parental guide to it, too, because the plot's kind of short. But two brothers, Michael Tutman and George Tutman, are brainwashed by their serial killer uncle, Anwar Namtut. And if you look, it's really easy to see that Namtut is just Tutman spelled backwards. So I'm not exactly sure what that's about. I don't know why their uncles, if it's their maternal uncle, then some dude named Tutman just happened to marry someone that had the name Namtut as a maiden name, which is their name spelled backwards. I don't know exactly. I tried doing the first name backwards, but it's Rorna.
They want to put a hyphen on it and have a palindrome for their last name.
Right. But so they're brainwashed by him into completing his task of resurrecting the ancient Lemurian goddess Shitar. Their mission is given to them once they resurrect him from his grave. And so I don't know how exactly he got this message to them, how he brainwashed. Did he brainwash him before he died, and then he died, and then they resurrected him? Or was he already dead and he resurrected as a ghost? I don't know. But anyway, for the remainder of the movie, Anwar Namtut is a brain in a mason jar with genitals that commands the brothers. In order to complete their mission, the brothers must collect different body parts from many immoral women, stitch them together, and then call forth the goddess at a blood buffet with a virgin to sacrifice ready for her to eat. The brothers choose women for their blood buffet from those that enter into their wildly popular vegetarian restaurants. How popular would a vegetarian restaurant be in 1987 if it wasn't in California, do you think?
Not very popular at all.
Meanwhile, two mismatched detectives work together to try to track them down before more carnage can ensue. Now, they must be really bad detectives because they're at their diner, I just read, the one they own. So they should be pretty easy to find. But yeah, I love the mismatched detectives, played by Lynette LaFrance and Roger Dower. It holds a 50% approval rating on Rotten Tomatoes, but that is based on 5 reviews.
How's that possible?
So not apparently. Yeah, that's
2.5
true.
people like it?
That's true. One person is completely split on it.
Come on, we got our tiebreaker. I could go either way.
Oh, but here's the parents' guide for this this movie. Sex and nudity, moderate. This is a moderate amount of sex and nudity. A woman fights a man completely naked, full frontal nudity is shown. 6 female cheerleaders are shown exercising. They are topless. And a female photographer is topless, other than a jacket thrown over her shoulders. A guy exercises with them, wearing shorts. So that's a moderate amount of nudity.
I can see how this got the 50% approval, I see.
Right? Violence and gore, severe. Multiple scenes of blood and gore with strong, humorous overtones. A man is run over multiple times by a car while the driver grotesquely smiles, but soon becomes funny when the guy keeps trying to get up. I love that the reviewer changed his mind like halfway through writing it. But it soon becomes funny because he keeps trying to get up.
Like if he wasn't fighting back, it's not funny. But now that they're working off each other, he can see the humor in it.
A man is hit in the stomach. Later, he is nearly hit again and runs away.
What? Is
That's part of the severe violence.
okay.
A man is shot several times off camera. That's probably, I mean, like, that could be true of any movie if you think about it. I'll bet you there are a lot of shootings off camera that just don't have anything to do with the film.
I mean, really, if you consider the film as being any modern world film, there's all sorts of crimes going on out there off camera.
That's right. So profanity is moderate. Profanities such as fuck, shit, and other minor ones are used moderately. And then frightening and intense scenes. There's one note here. This is another one I like. This movie is a horror movie and does deal with... Oh, it says severe. The frightening and intense scenes. This movie is a horror movie and does deal with several disturbing themes and ideas. But it does so with a lighthearted, comical tone, playing the more gruesome scenes for humor rather than horror. Still severe somehow. But I love that warning.
What if it's just the review was written by a sociopath? like they just were technically considered to be severe, but they just didn't realize that it was much more damning than what they thought.
Oh my god! So that is Educating Mike for this week. I have
a lot more educated now.
Yeah, I have something for you. Next time we do one of our multi-part series on director, like we did with Kevin Smith, I found another Dark Horse comic that is Alien versus Predator versus Terminator.
Oh yeah, that's an older one, I think.
Yeah, and it's a 4-part series. So I want to do that next time we do a multi-part thing like we did with Kevin Smith. I think that will be pretty good. I've read the first one so far, and it's interesting. I think it'll be a good educating Mike segment.
That's fair. Yeah, I was thinking the other day about like what our next multi-part series. Like I thought we were talking about a certain director. I just couldn't remember who it was.
Well, we talked about Quentin Tarantino. We talked about the Coen brothers. I'm trying to think who else. Scorsese would be a good one to do too.
Yeah, I haven't seen the earlier ones, but even like if you just go with like certain eras, like his Leonardo DiCaprio ones or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Or really just talk about The Departed because I love that. I've been watching that movie. That's what I've been watching a lot lately. The Departed. I watched it twice in the last 2 weeks, which is a lot for me.
Yeah, that's a good movie for
It's
sure.
on Netflix now.
Oh, is it? I'll check it out for sure.
Yeah, so is the original Terminator, which I also watched.
That's another great movie. The original one I think is still my favorite one. I think I still like it better than Terminator 2.
I think I like Terminator 2 better, but that's because I saw it first, and
Yeah,
it's just that was my first introduction, and also it features Arcade Boy,
that's right.
a youth who was thrown into a video game by the Terminator.
Yep. Well, speaking of introducing ourselves, let's now introduce ourselves to our guest today. Okay, we are here with our first ever celebrity interview. We have Lester Green. You can see him on The Widowers, which is available on Amazon Prime. You can get that from iTunes. He's got some exciting projects coming up. Very talented young and up and coming actor. So, welcome, Lester Green. How are you?
Hey, Mark, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
No, we appreciate you coming by for sure. I know that you've had a bit of a non-traditional way into acting, especially now in this day and age. It seems like it's a lot. There are a lot more avenues to get into acting. I know that you've written a lot. You've wrote a lot of books. You've had a pretty substantial music career. You've done some things on the internet, and now you're into acting. Um, do you think that the way do you think that it's easier to get into feature films now than it has been, or do you think because of the proliferation and the increased competition, it's something that is harder now?
Now, I think it's easier now because technology is so advanced. People can literally use their own cell phones to create their own films, shop it around, submit it to various festivals. You don't have to wait for a big machine to come and say, okay, yeah, we're going to greenlight your project. Those days are over.
Right.
So I feel like now is the day where independent artists can take control of their own careers.
Yeah, and do you find that frees up a lot more creativity as far as projects go when you don't have to jump through so many hoops to kind of get your vision on the
Right.
screen?
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think once you have full control over your project, you don't necessarily have to cater to a certain audience or to the machine, if you will. I think you can just kind of create what you want to create. And I think that's where the best possible product comes out. You know what I mean? When you don't have any restrictions and they're not tying your arms behind your back. I think freedom of expression is just being able to go out there and just create, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. I know that you wrote a book. It's available on Amazon, paperback and digital. It's called "Act Like You Love Yourself." I read through the book. It's very interesting. It's a very good book. Anyone that's interested, especially in acting, should go and pick it up. It's a pretty, at least at the beginning, it's a pretty in-depth guide into sort of what to expect when you're starting out in an acting career, steps that you need to take. What kind of motivated you to write this book?
Well, I just feel like in this day and age, it's so important to really love yourself. I see a lot of people walking around with low self-esteem, and you see a lot of people just doubting themselves. And I think in order to be successful in anything, not just acting, but just in life, you have to really believe in yourself. You have to have a certain confidence. So, for example, when I walk into an audition room, I'm walking up in that room with my head held up high, and I'm believing that I can do anything. So it's really a matter of having the right state of mind.
I've got to feel like that's probably the best advice that any aspiring actors could get out there, because I know, having not really being in the business myself, but I know that that a lot of people go into auditions trying to please casting directors, or trying to please directors, or trying to
Yeah.
be
Mm.
what they want them to be. But like as you said, if you go in there, and do it for yourself, it seems to me like that kind of confidence and poise would shine through.
Right, exactly. When I go into the audition room, as long as I do exactly what I set out to do, and that's just being confident and not holding back, then I can live with the results. But I think when you go in there and you try to do something that you think they want, I just feel like you fall flat on your face. And then what ends up happening is you regret that choice that you made. But at that point, it's too late to take it back.
Right, exactly. Now I know, in addition to the writing and the acting, like I said, you had a pretty good rap career going. I know you released 4 albums, including the Greenhouse Effect and Green Room. Those are available on iTunes. Definitely check some of those tracks out. A lot of political inspired lyrics. A lot of I really enjoyed. I listened to a lot of the Greenhouse Effect, and I really enjoyed a lot of the lyrics. Your style on there. Um, what made you leave the your career in hip hop and music, and sort of pursue one in acting?
Well, that's a great question. I think with music and acting almost go hand in hand.
Hmm.
So for me, I feel like using my voice as an expression is so important. So whether I'm rapping or acting in a scene or being in a movie, they're all very similar. So it's not like I really left music, because I still make music for documentaries. I recently created a song for a documentary called You're Not Alone. So I'm constantly weaving in and out of both mediums.
Yeah, and obviously we've seen some other people do that as well. One thing that
Right.
struck me from listening to your albums is that you talk a lot about your sexual orientation, you being gay, and and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but and a lot of
Hmm.
my evidence is anecdotal for this, but it seems to me that the black community is perhaps one of the communities that are a little slower to accept the homosexuality and homosexual lifestyle, and I wonder how that affected your music career, how that affected your outlook on things.
Wow, that's a great question, Mark. I really appreciate that one. Well, for me, when I first started making music, I was just making music that would cater to the masses. I wasn't really trying to make music that came from my soul. So the minute I made that transition into making music for myself, I created a song called Regular Person. And that's on my album called No Bush Straight something. I don't want to say that word, but and so that yeah, I don't know if you saw that title. It's
Oh,
called
I
No
did.
Bush Straight. Okay, yeah. So I did that song Regular Person, and I felt like my music just sounded so much better. It was so much more authentic, and that was the real me. And
Hmm.
then once I made that song, I just stayed in that same vein, and I started creating music that spoke to my soul. And now, when I look back on it, those are the songs that stand out the most to me, because that's me speaking as Lester Green.
Right. Yeah, I've done some writing. I have some novels myself out there,
Oh, nice.
and
Oh, okay.
I think I think in all forms of artistic expression, truth is so important.
Mm,
And I think that that's kind of what you're speaking to as far as music goes and everything.
right.
Once you can speak your truth, then that kind of it elevates things. That's what
Yes,
speaks to people.
absolutely. Absolutely. And then from there, I just built upon that and I created another album called Cocktails that I did with my friend Tori Fix in Minnesota. And he's also a gay artist. And we were able to create something that was just so powerful because we were speaking our truth.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
that was a great question.
oh, thanks. Um,
Yeah.
and I know, like, when you began your acting career, I know that Lorenz Tate was a big inspiration to you. You guys worked together on Power. Obviously, people know him from Menace to Society, Crash, films like that. Talk about a little bit how it was to work with him and kind of things that you learned from the style that he brought to acting.
Yeah. So I first saw Lorenz Tate act in this show called Rescue 911. I don't know if
Hmm.
it's still on. And he did this scene with this other actor. And I was a background actor at the time. And I just remember watching him and saying to myself, wow, I could see myself doing the same thing. I saw myself in him. And he just inspired me from that point. And then that's when I realized, oh, I really want to be an actor. I really want to pursue this. So I stopped doing background acting, and then I started auditioning for student films and short films and feature films, and then I started booking television shows with speaking roles.
Hmm.
So it was a constant progression. It was a gradual progression, but it was something that started from that moment when I saw Lorenz Tate on 911, Rescue 911.
And I know you've done a lot of commercial acting as well as in films and television. And
Yeah.
what do you think is one of the big differences between preparing for and performing in a commercial as opposed to performing in a television show or a movie?
Well, the funny thing is, commercial acting a few years ago was always a little over the top in terms of the acting because you were selling a product, so you had to really kind of bring more energy, more enthusiasm. But now, as I move forward with my acting career and even commercial acting, I see that they want real people. They want realistic acting. There's no over the top, cheesy acting anymore. So really, it's similar. TV acting and film acting and commercial acting are similar in that it's very grounded.
Hmm.
So, for example, I just booked a MetLife commercial 2 days ago, and they were looking for bus drivers, authentic bus drivers. I happen to be a bus driver. I've been a bus driver for about 12 years now. And so for me, all they wanted me to do was just be myself because that's what the audience relates to. They want to be able to relate to real people, not people who are acting over the top. So now commercial acting is just very grounded, like television acting and film acting.
Right. And I know you've done a lot of you've had a role on Gotham, the television
Oh
series.
yeah,
You've done
yeah.
you were on 50 Central. I know 50 Cent's show.
All right.
And now, what do you think that there's like production wise? Do you think there's a big difference between a like a network show like Gotham and an internet show or an independent feature? What do you think is the biggest difference as far as production wise goes on in those things?
Well, that's a pretty easy one. I'd say money, the
Hmm.
budget. I feel like when you're talking about shows like Gotham, I was on Gotham, I was on Power, I was on 50 Central, John Glasser Loves Gear, all these television shows, they have a bigger budget. But with that being said, today's the day of the internet age. So now you don't necessarily have to have a lot of money to get your story out there or to even get picked up. I've seen shows start out as web series. It'll start out as a web series, and then it'll get a fan base, get a nice following, and then next thing you know, Netflix picks it up. So just because you don't necessarily have a lot of money, that doesn't mean that you can't get picked up by a huge business or a huge company, per se.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Now, do you have any like dream role, any kind of something that you would just die to do?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked me that. I recently saw a film called The Intouchables.
Hmm.
It's an old film, but it starred this African American guy who was from the streets, and he met this older white gentleman who was a paraplegic, and it just showed how these two had to work together in order to help each other. And I've always wanted to play a character who had to come from a different side of the world in order to mix with another person. So it just shows dynamic between two characters. So I like being able to stretch myself and being able to cross over into another world in order to be understood. So I'd probably go with something like that. I love just playing characters like that.
You've done a lot of writing, directing, producing, obviously acting, music. Is there one, if you had to choose one, which one of those do you think would be the most rewarding?
Probably acting, because I just love it. I love the idea of playing a character and going under a disguise. I think it's great. I'll give you an example. Just yesterday, I got a call from my manager, Ben Padaway, and he told me that I had booked this new role for a feature film that's coming out. It's a SAG project, of course.
Mm.
And I had auditioned for this project months ago. It was a self-tape. I didn't hear from the producers, and I figured I didn't get it. And then a couple of days ago, I hear from my manager, and he tells me, yeah, Lester, they want to use you. They want to cast you. And so that kind of, I don't know, that just really does something for me when I land an acting job. It really just makes me want to keep going. So I would say acting is probably the number one thing that I love doing.
So what do you think the ultimate goal is? Like, let's
Hmm.
say, I'll give you a couple different scenarios. So is it to like land a substantial role in a big like kind of Hollywood production and get noticed from there, or is it say like I know you have a film that you wrote and directed, 33rd Road,
Right.
that you guys are going to be shopping around to different film festivals looking for distribution and stuff. And is that the way you'd rather break in? Take something like that and get shown on like Netflix or Amazon or something like that, and gain an audience through there, or distribution from one of the bigger distribution
Right.
places.
Well, for me, I had a film called Driving Force
Hmm.
and raw footage that was aired on CBS. And to me, that was a huge accomplishment.
Hmm.
So at this point in my career, I just want to work consistently. So that means that I don't want to have to work a 9 to 5 job while I'm pursuing my acting career. I'd rather just work consistently, just acting.
Hmm.
So that's my goal. I don't necessarily want to be rich and famous. I
Right.
just want to be able to live comfortably acting because I love acting.
Okay, well, I will say that I've seen some of your performances. I love your style. I
Uh,
think I think everybody should check you out. Lester Green. That now I know they can find you on the internet. It's Greene, Lester Green
right.
with an E.
Exactly. Yep.
On Facebook and Twitter. Where can people find you?
Yeah, all you have to do is go to my website, www.lestergreen, that's with an E at the end,
Mhm.
.com. So lestergreen.com, you go there, you'll be able to get access to my Twitter page, my Facebook page, my Instagram page. Everything's there. So one-stop shop. You can get my book and my music and all of my movies there.
Okay, everybody check out lestergreen.com, Lester Green with an E. Keep up on what Lester's doing. Thank you for joining us so much today, Lester. It was a pleasure to talk to you.
Thanks, Mark. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate that. Keep writing.
Thanks. You have a good day.
All right, buddy.
Well, that was quite an interesting conversation, Mike, with Lester Green. I think that everyone check him out. And yeah, he seems like a guy that's going places in the business, as they say.
They do say that.
But our main topic today is a film called Velvet Buzzsaw that's on Netflix. It's another one of those ones where I've heard some people talking about it. I did not know anything about this movie, who was in it, what it was about, or anything other than the title. And so Mike and I decided to watch it. Quite interesting, a very interesting film. What did you think of it, Mike?
I really didn't know anything about it. You just suggested we watch it, so I'm like, okay, I'll give it a shot. I saw, I think I looked it up just to see. I do that often, like I look up a movie to see like kind of like what it's about. And I just saw that it said it was like boring or whatever. Someone, some review, maybe it was Variety, I don't know. I'm like, oh great, but whatever. I watched it anyways. It was pretty interesting. It was it's about like the world of art. Jake Gyllenhaal's character, whose name I could not tell you.
Moth.
He's an art critic,
Or Morph or something like that,
which is
yeah.
kind of weird because they never quite explain how he makes a living. I mean, I don't think he does it in a professional capacity. Oh, I guess he does write at some point, like in art, but that just doesn't seem to be lucrative in any sense of the word.
Yeah, they didn't ever say what publication he works for or anything, just that he's posting it. And like, he's posting it online, so I don't.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It's just like a thing that only exists in like a movie or a TV series where you're like,
Mhm.
well, I'm an independently wealthy art critic.
Right. Yeah, because he has a lot of his house is big and his apartment or whatever it is big, and he's got a substantial art collection and everything. Um, Rene Russo's in this as well. There are a lot of weird names in this movie. I think I can't even remember what her name is.
It's
Fiora
actually a
or something like
reunion. I forgot. It's actually I should have mentioned this earlier. It's from the director of Nightcrawler,
Oh yeah.
which also features both of those too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I found it very interesting too. It wasn't boring to me. I wouldn't call it a great movie, but it was good and it was interesting. It turns out, and I guess spoilers from here, it turns out that it's a horror film, which I didn't really see coming, not knowing anything about the movie. It's the first movie that I can think of that features a haunted painting or paintings in it since I guess Vago the Carpathian from Ghostbusters 2. But or Vigo. But it's obviously the tone is way different than that. It turns out that this man dies in an apartment building, and one of the women who does there's a receptionist for one of the art houses, Rene Russo's art house. She finds him, and she talks to this guy that's doing the maintenance and everything. He's changing out the mailbox of the guy's apartment, and says that all his stuff in there is getting thrown away. He left orders explicitly to throw everything away. Even at that point, I didn't think like, oh, this is a horror movie. And she goes in there, and it's all this art that depicts like this really gruesome kind of stuff, but it fascinates everyone that looks at it. And she decides to package it all up, and she's going to sell it to get rich. And she ends up making a deal with Rene Russo where she helps her sell the stuff and everything, and they they make a bunch of money together selling it to different collectors. It's the only horror movie I've ever seen that features the art world, and I don't know a lot about the art world, but it seems to be fairly accurate as to what, or at least a fairly accurate caricature of what the art world is like. And, just kind of how there's little rhyme or reason as to why things are popular. Like the people that own the museums and own the different galleries and things like that seem to kind of just they're the ones that set the market. This is who's popular. This is who's in demand. This is who you're going to want, kind of thing. And
I think
yep.
it makes a really interesting point too about how some of the greatest like artworks of all time are only seen by a very few select elite, groups.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah.
pass through private owners to private owner, and they're never really seen in like galleries or museums or anything like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And so a lot, the movie's a lot about art. It's including film as an art form. It's a lot about kind of what people will do to gain fame, to gain money, and just kind of how like there's a big incestuous relationship amongst the creators and the people that sell it and the people that critique it. It's funny too. John Malkovich is in this movie, but he does not. He doesn't do much in this film at all. Like
I haven't seen him in forever. I was happy to see him in a movie because he's really good when he's been in things. I just haven't seen him in the longest time.
but I expected his character to play more of a part in the film, and he really
Yeah,
didn't.
He's barely in the movie.
Yeah, and his you could cut his character out, and the film is basically exactly the same.
Yeah, I mean, they may mention him when he's not on screen once or twice, but yeah, he's good at it, but he's in there for like 5 minutes, maybe 10. I doubt.
Yeah, but yeah, he does a very good job. Jake Gyllenhaal does an excellent job as well, which I think a lot of people have come to expect from him. Rene Russo gives a decent performance. I don't want to be mean, but I don't know what they did with her makeup, but Rene Russo looks like a monster.
Oh my god!
Well, I mean, her forehead is just she looks so different than she used to. And I feel like it has to be a conscious makeup choice to make her look like that. I mean, if that's really how she's aged, I apologize, Miss Russo. But it just there is something about her forehead that just is very weird. But anyway, they get
I mean, it's not weird, but this monster has a weird forehead.
they get the title of the movie because she was in a band called Velvet Buzzsaw in the 80s, sort of like a Velvet Underground punky kind of 80s band, girl band. Maybe kind of like Bikini Kill, I suppose, but
You
but
like
a
the
few
80s,
years
right,
earlier.
Mark?
Yeah, that's right. It's the 80s. But yeah, so she's in that band and she has a tattoo on the back of her neck of a buzzsaw that says Velvet Buzzsaw. And it comes up a couple times, her past. And she used to be an artist, used to be a creator. Now she's more of a purveyor. So I think the movie has a lot to say about those types of things, but even more than a cretin like me could get out of the film. But as a horror film, it's pretty atmospheric. There's not a lot of jump scares. It's a solidly made horror film from all the technical standpoints, and there are a few scenes that are genuinely kind of creepy in the film. But yeah, this guy, what's his name? Viter Dees or something like that.
Something like that, yeah. The Carpathian.
Yeah, exactly. He's the creator of this art, and it turns out that he had an abusive father. He ended up going in the army. He got out of the army, tracked down and killed his abusive father. He went to jail, went to like a asylum for the criminally insane or something like that. Then he got this job at a veterans place where it's rumored that he killed somebody else, one of his coworkers, and not a lot of people know much about his life. And I guess for this entire time he'd spent painting, and he used his blood in a lot of the paintings, and I guess his spirit is like resides in these paintings, and anyone that profits off them, because he explicitly said he wanted them to be destroyed, it ends up getting murdered by the paintings. Basically, it's scarier than that sounds. But yeah, and one thing that I appreciated is they didn't really try to explain it. They didn't try to explain like it was a blood curse, and he like he sacrificed 4 goats to the pagan god of what, you know what I mean. They were like, he used his blood, the paintings come alive, deal with it, kind of thing. And I appreciate when they do stuff like that more, when they try to over explain things, it becomes unnecessarily complicated, and it's like, it's a movie, I can suspend my disbelief. His spirit lives in the paintings, okay.
It was an odd. I just had no inkling that it was a horror movie. So, like at the very first, they hire this guy to put some of the paintings in storage because like they're trying to increase the value, much like Disney with their movies.
Yeah, exactly.
But then he like decides to keep them for himself, and then he starts like doesn't it grab him or something like that? I don't know. It catches on fire. The painting catches on fire somehow.
Yeah, he's smoking a cigarette and he drops it, and the painting catches on fire, then his shirt catches on fire, and he rips it off. And I'll tell you, what it reminded me of is something from my own life, actually.
Okay.
When I was like 14, I was playing around with a lighter. I was home alone. I was playing around with a lighter for some reason, and I lit the end of my shirt on fire on purpose. Unfortunately, my mom had bought the shirt from Kmart, and I think it was treated with some sort of chemical, because that motherfucker went up as fast as you can imagine. Like
It used to be an oil painting.
within seconds, it was the flames were like at my neck. So I ripped the shirt off my body, threw it on the ground, which was the carpet, singed some of my hair while I was doing it, and ran into the kitchen, got some water, poured it out, but there was a giant hole in the carpet because of it.
Jeez. How'd you explain that one away?
Well, I told my mom that when she got home, I told my mom that I was cooking something on the stove, and we had a gas stove, and I leaned in too close, and the flame got too close to my shirt and caught it on fire. She goes, "Well, why did you go to the living room?" And I was like, "Well, I just panicked, and I just panicked and ran." And then ripped it off and threw it down on the ground and stuff. So I didn't get in trouble for that one.
Jeez.
But that's what it reminded me of. And so, he rips his shirt off, and then he looks in the rearview mirror and he sees the guy, it's this Deese guy, but like come to life from the painting in the rearview like of his truck. So he ends up crashing into this old abandoned gas station. He gets out, he goes into the bathroom, and then there's a painting, which is weird because it's not one of his paintings. But it's a painting of 3 monkeys. So I guess he controls all paintings in the world, I guess. But it's a painting of like 3 monkeys working on a car, and the monkeys come to life and grab him and pull him into the painting, I guess. We never really see what happens to him beyond that. I assume he's just ripped apart by monkeys in a painting, which is a weird sentence.
Yeah. What's weird about that though is when like the detectives were like exploring like the crime scene or whatever, they found like a bag of like hallucinogenic mushrooms.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, at first, I'm like, well, did that actually happen, or just people being like really affected by this painting?
Right.
But then, just like throughout the rest of the movie, it just became more explicit that like the paintings, and like you said, it wasn't just like his own paintings. Like they had this like kind of conceptual art thing called Sphere, where like people put their arms into it and feel different things. And at one point, one of the characters is their arms just like cut off by the sphere, which isn't made by this guy. Voight or whatever his name is, John Voight.
Yeah, John Voight is the villain in this movie. Angelina Jolie thinks that he's the villain in real life too.
Yeah, the thing about this that kind of I always think is funny, like when there's like a like how like there's often like a moral like tale, like this one's like, oh, don't commercialize art or something, possibly, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But then it's just like almost like in Freddy Krueger, like there's just like no redeeming factor. Like in some place like in Jason, like, oh, he was drowned as a kid, so he came back and punished all these people.
Right.
Like, you can kind of see like it's like, oh, okay, that's kind of like a moral vengeance, but like this, like much like Freddy Krueger, there's just like no redeeming qualities. This guy just like was a madman who like killed people and then like said burn my paintings
Right. For
and like,
no
oh,
reason.
and they didn't burn the paintings. That means he it's just like it's weird, like, but like in these movies, they often put like some tiny bit of sympathy you could feel for like the bad people, like
Hmm.
Jason, where he's you could kind of feel for him as a kid, like, oh well, they shouldn't be goofing around, some kid might drown. But in this, or like Nightmare on Elm Street, it's like, yeah, this guy's just a complete 100% utter asshole.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I know he was abused as a kid, but it's like, yeah, they killed a bunch of other people. He was a complete dick. And, like, I thought where they were going to go with it is that he painted this stuff and he knew that they were haunted or something. Or, like, I don't know, like, he imbued them with some kind of evil force on accident. And he was like, oh, destroy all these. And they didn't. And so then, because they didn't follow his wishes, that's what they got. But it really seems like it's just like he's pissed that they didn't do what he told them to do.
Pretty much, yeah.
But yeah, definitely an interesting film. It was like I said, well acted, pretty well written. It's not as good as Nightcrawler. It's not the best movie that's on Netflix, but I would say it's worth your time. I enjoyed it. It was, like I said, it was a fine way to pass an hour and 40 minutes or however long it is.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting movie, which is, that's high praise for me. I mean, at the very least, the movie should be interesting and, at least have new ideas and like new things we haven't really seen.
Yeah, I thought it's interesting too at the end when Rene Russo gets got because tattoos are art as well, and her Velvet Buzzsaw tattoo comes to life and punctures a hole in her neck, which ends up killing her. And the other thing is Jake Gyllenhaal was trying to do the right thing once he found out that the art was supposed to be destroyed. He was trying to do the right thing, but it didn't matter. He still got killed.
Yeah.
This Deese guy has no kind of discernment. It's just like, fuck you guys.
He's just a bad egg in general.
But the one girl got to live because she didn't really profit from it. She just witnessed every single death, basically. But yeah, so that is Velvet Buzzsaw. I got one more thing before we go, Mike. A new segment that I'm going to debut on you and the listeners. Every once in a while, we get, well, actually a lot. We get comments, whether it be on the website or on YouTube or through our email address or Facebook or whatever. And some of those comments are from bots, especially on the website. There are a lot of bots making a lot of comments, I guess trying to sell whatever it is they're trying to sell. So I'm calling this segment Comments from Bots. Because some of them are it's funny, you can tell that they're not written by a human, at least not a
Sure.
human being that speaks English.
Right.
So this is from Crazy Bulk Legal Steroids. Spot on with this write-up. I actually believe this site needs far more attention. I'll probably be returning to read more. Thanks for the advice. And this is on the week 3 NFL review. So I'm not sure what advice he got from that, but high praise from Crazy Bulk Legal Steroids to probably be returning. And I love that too. I actually believe this site needs far more attention. I'll probably be returning to read more. I'm not sure, but I'll probably be back.
Well, they're going back to examine all the sites to see which ones are worthy of attention.
Right. This one is from Fentaraj Garcinia. This is my first time go to see at here, and I am actually pleasant to read all at alone place. I don't know what that means, but it's almost like a haiku. Oh, this one is from Hydroponics, Portland, Oregon. Here's the comment on a one of our posts. Combining the pH excellent know-how with an unsurpassed level of chelation ensures that the balanced ratios of the formulations used in the larger yields flowering system are always being delivered to and brought up by the vegetation root system. I don't know what the fuck that means. I don't know what they're trying to sell, but it's almost like it's
we know what they're trying to sell.
but I mean it's almost like they're like it's such a weird comment. It's not like, hey, try our pot that we grow hydroponically or anything like that. It's just talking about the process of it.
What was that in response to?
That was in response to episode 4, the first Kevin Smith one.
Oh, that's odd.
Oh, let's
Maybe
see.
Kevin Smith triggers like a marijuana system. No, probably it does.
Could be, that's true. Here's from checking the report, Bears edition. Good way of describing and good piece of writing to obtain facts about my presentation subject, which I am going to present in Institution of Higher Learning. So, someone's going to present in an Institution of Higher Learning the report on the Bears game the Lions played. Oh my god! Here's another one on the same one, the Bears thing. The check the report is basically just breaking down the Bears and breaking down the Lions and who has the advantage in the matchup. I appreciate result in. I found exactly what I was having a look for. You have ended my 4-day lengthy hunt. God bless you, man. Have a great day. Bye. That's from livcsn.com.
Have a great day too.
Oh my god. So that is some. Oh wait. Here's one more, because I love there are several bots that for some reason use this word, and I do not know why. Hello to all. How is everything? I think everyone is getting more from this site, and your views are fastidious in support of new people. Not really the correct use of the word fastidious, but there are several ones that use fastidious. You have touched on some fastidious points here. Anyway, keep up rinting. WRINTING.
Huh.
So we do a lot of good rinting on MichiganSportsEntertainment.com if you want to check that out. But that is some comments from bots. It's not something we'll do all the time, but when we get some funny comments from Crazy Bulk Steroids or Garth Brooks, Trisha Yearwood divorce images, which is another one that left a thing, then we will update you on that.
Is that a whole website dedicated to images of Garth Brooks?
Apparently.
What the fuck?
When you click on the link that they give for their profile, it says how in order to locate love within your 40s and beyond.
Wow.
So apparently they want Garth Brooks and Trisha Yearwood to locate love within their 40s and beyond.
Yeah, if you want some entertainment, I was tipped off to this by the Your Mom's House podcast. Check out the Garth Brooks social media videos. They're insane. He's like a crazy person.
Okay, I will definitely check those out. Oh, well, that is our show for today. Come back next week for more show. You can find us on Facebook at Massive Late Fee, at Massive Late Fee on Twitter, massivelatefee@gmail.com. You can go to Bandcamp, massivelatefee.bandcamp.com. Obviously, our Patreon, patreon.com/massivelatefee. All this will be linked below.
MySpace.com/massivelatefee. You can make our top 8.
Exactly.
People have that.
You can check out our blog there. But yeah, we've got all the social medias. Also, I forgot to mention, um, we are having a contest. I actually set up the contest. We're giving away $100 gift card for whoever tweets at us using the hashtag massive late fee. And we're going to pick this. We're going to select a winner. So in order to enter, you have to, hashtag massive late fee. The funniest or most creative way that you work massive late fee into a conversation that has nothing to do with massive late fee. And the best entrant will get a $100 gift card. There's a couple other consolation prizes of massive late fee T-shirts, free massive late fee T-shirts. So check out
Personal phone call from Mark. He'll leave a funny voicemail.
right. I'll leave a novelty answering machine message for you on the retro one. But yeah, so check out Twitter for that contest. Special thanks to Jason for the theme song. Special thanks to Lester Green for being our guest today. Shout outs to Leah and RJ and Roger and Miranda, Alex as well, for being Patreons on Patreon. Check us out there. And I think that's about it. We'll see you next week. Bye.
See you next time.